last year's been pretty crazy. It's had ups and downs and everything else, and yeah. But I know God was with us. Just like Paul got shipwrecked, he was stoned to death and came back to life and kept on going, and bitten by a snake and everything else. And at the end, he said, I had a prosperous journey. Because we're not guaranteed what's going to happen tomorrow. But it's that we continue to go on this route. We continue to press on for tomorrow, for something better. Because there is a better day coming. And it's not going to be in this life. It is going to continue to get bad in this life. But after this life's over, we have a blessed home waiting. And it ain't going to be all of this griping and everything else going on. All this stuff where everything keeps on changing one second to the next. There ain't going to be none of that. We're arguing over little petty stuff that really doesn't matter come tomorrow. But it's a place of love, of compassion, of caring. And we'll be with the one that made us. The one that said that he loves us. The one that came down and died on the cross for us. And as we start this new year, I just want to open up with that in remembrance. Because he never says we're going to have a life of ease. If anyone tells you that, they're lying to you. Jesus himself said that if they did this to me, imagine what they'll do to you. All throughout the New Testament, he's telling us that. He never said this life and this planet on this time was going to be a life of ease. But he did make us a promise. Very last thing he said, Matthew, I'll be with you always, even until the end. So the name of the song, God on the Mountain, God talks about the good times and the bad times, and that he's always with us. Life is easy when you're up on the mountain and you got peace of mind like you never known. But then things changes and you're down in the valley. Do y'all have a song y'all want to sing? share a little thought I had. Well, it's a revelation that I had a while back. And I find the more and more I look around, the more it's true. It comes out of Matthew 11. It's right there at the end of Matthew 11, verse 28. We find in verse 10, Matthew, that Jesus sent out his apostles 2 by 2 to go and give the word, right? But whenever he sent them out, he didn't tell them to go debate the word. He didn't go and tell them to force it down anybody's throat. He didn't tell them to try to undermine or try to ridicule anyone else's faith or anything like that. He just said, go and present the gospel to them 2 by 2. Don't worry about taking anything else. Just trust in God. Go on now and just let them know the good news. The one that created them loves them. The one that created them sent his son here to make a way for you. It's not as burdensome as everybody makes it to be. See, a lot of times we have these tasks laid before us. And because of the way it's presented and because of the way we perceive it, we make it into something so big. You will always interpret things and you'll always understand things through the emotions that you have about something. So if it comes to you like someone's trying to put down on me, it's going to be 10 times worse. And you're not going to see the overall picture of it. Therefore, your response to it is going to be worse. He tells them, just present it. If they don't want to accept it, that's fine. Knock the dust off, go to the next. And now they just now got back, right? And in chapter 11, he's teaching them again. And we find in verse number 28, he makes a comment. Well, let's go back up and start at 25. It says, at that time Jesus answered and said, I praise thee, O Father, Lord of heaven and earth, that thou didst hide these things from the wise and intelligent, and didst reveal them to babies. The ones that thought they were so wise, those scribes, the Pharisees, all of those trying to add more to the laws, trying to say, this right here is what you're supposed to be doing. You ain't doing this, you're not saved, and yada, yada, yada. You know, adding to what the scripture says, they're making religion and more of a burden where people don't even want to go no more. And that's what he was trying to get back to. It's like, I didn't want it to be burdensome. It should be a joy, a love, it's joy. There was this boy one time carrying his lame brother, and an old man comes by and says, that's some burden you guys. I said, it's no brother, it's my little brother. Because anything that's done out of love and compassion and freely is not a burden, but it's light, it's easy, because you want to do it. Take, for instance, your money. If you're told you have to give your money to someone, if you're told you have to contribute so much, it's a burden. You're looking at it like, how am I going to make ends meet? But then you have this ball game you want to go to, or you have a concert you want to go to, or you want to go out and hang out with friends. Well, now it's very easy to spend 2-3 times that, and it doesn't even hurt a thing. You're not looking at the bills at that time. Because in your heart you want to do that. Same with this, the things that we want to do. Well, that's what he's getting back to them with. Is, they made it so the wise people thought that in their own human thinking that they were wiser than the one that created everything, so they wanted to add to it, so they looked more important. Thank God, I'm just a baby. I'm not important. I don't have to add anything to it. It is all right here. I just got to read it. I have to follow it. That's all. It says, they did not reveal these things to the wise and intelligent, and did reveal them to babies. Yes, Father, verse 26, yes, Father, for thus it was well-pleasing in thy sight. All things have been handed over to me by my Father, and no one knows the Son except the Father, nor does anyone know the Father except the Son, And anyone to whom the Son wills to reveal him. Our eyes are open whenever the Father allows our eyes to be open. Whenever our heart is turned and we're seeking him, he reveals him to us. That's what we can understand. So all those people that are carrying the word to, if they didn't want to change, if they didn't want nothing no different, then they weren't going to find it. However, just like Paul says in Acts 17, that God is everywhere, all around us, in everything. And I'm not saying that God is this chair over here or this tree over here. I'm not saying that. But if we look for him, we can find his presence in everything because he created everything. Some poets, atheist poets, came to the understanding that there had to be one creator by simply writing a poem out there in a field, then happen to look down and see this one flower that looked identical to this other flower, and then as they looked up, they saw all these different things that was looking the same, and it was out of design, not a sporadic combustion that perhaps this one happened and that one happened, but everything was organized. Everything had a unity behind it. So an atheist that was writing poems, looking up, can come to that understanding. He was seeing God, and that God was opening his eyes because he was looking. So God is willing and able and wants to reveal himself to us. Because we're all really his children. But we're not coming home until we open our heart back to him. 28, so here's the part I wanted to get to. I love this thing. It says, "Come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you shall find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my load is light." All right. This has been a terrible bad year, right? And whenever you talk about taking on a yoke, you talk about taking on another burden. Who in the world wants to take on more work than what we already have? Nobody. Growing up, I'm used to seeing people with oxen, donkeys. They have these single yokes that goes on them so they can pull a plow. And that's all I ever knew. So every time I read this, I'm thinking, so he wants me to go to him to take on more work, but this work's going to be easier than what I've already got. And then one day, I happened to run across a picture of a double yoke. It's got this board, this piece of wood that goes between two yokes. So that it's not just one pulling everything, but it's shared by two. So now you have not just one pulling all that weight, but they're coming together. I started studying that, and I started really finding out a little bit more about it. You will never put two brand new or two young ox together. You always have one more mature, one that's wiser, one that's been working, that knows the trails, that knows how it wants everything plowed. You'll have one like that, and then you'll have the new one, the younger one, the weaker one. That way, the older one can teach the younger how to have a straight path, how to go right or left whenever the one with the reins is pulling right or left, how to get past all the rocks and stuff that's in the pathway out there. And not only that, but now that plow is not nearly as heavy as it was because you have two that's sharing the weight. This life, we're going to have all kind of troubles going on. Every time we turn around, every single year, doesn't matter if it's a pandemic or everything else happening. We're going to have things coming at us. Our personal life, our professional life, no matter where you go, it's not going to be a peaceful life here. But not only did Jesus tell us at the end of Matthew, I'll be with you until the end. But right here he's saying, take on my yoke. Let me walk beside you. Let me walk beside you through this life. As you're carrying and walking in my path, I'm leading you through it in an easier path. And I'm going to carry the weight with you. So it's not just one going no more, but it's two. It goes right back to the thing about the footprints. Whenever we weren't able to carry ourselves or walk on our own, he picked us up and carried us. Even though it felt like we was going through it by ourselves, he was carrying us. So to me, there's what this right here means. So remember, no matter what comes in our family, professional, in life, whatever 2021 has in store for us, the same one that created us is right there and is going to be walking with us through this year. And I praise God for that. Anyway, that's the thoughts I had. And that's what I wanted to share with you.